difference in your family when other people come into your close family, and it is all very exciting. It's quite beautiful, really. So this one's for Kate, who's our daughter on The Speed of Light, and that's the name of a song by Judy Miller. And I don't know if many of you were reading her. She's a country western singer from America, and that song was released in 1999. The Speed of Light, for Kate. On the car ride back from Maitland's windmill turn-off until we hit Portsmouth Drive, a 2-hour trip, you wonder out loud how small the amount we can actually see of the full spectrum. And again express amazement that space is full of nothing. You try to figure out the difference between AC and DC. You ask how long the sun will last, and how many satellites are there now up in the stratosphere, and is there anyone keeping tally? This yearn to understand. I blame the full moon as the lit up 8:30 flight from Wellington bumbles in like a lost firefly at Mamona Airport. We drive on into the night as the other side of this planet we're pinned to turns to morning. In Colombia, our sun sleeps on. To another sun, riding on a train to Kyoto from Osaka, I text our present location on the right side of Milton, going full throttle, pell-mell, into dark rain, believing we know where we've been and where we're headed. Now I can read one more. Yeah. This is sort of a few years back, but pretty current, and it's called Can't You See? And you mentioned Cat Stevens. This is the Cat Stevens one. Can't You See comes from You Are So Beautiful by Joe Cocker, 1974, but it's really set more in the 21st century. Can't you see? When the phone rings, there's a race not to be the one who answers it. We don't have a flat screen TV or sip water from bottles. There's no four-wheel drive in our drive, no dishwasher, no cruise ship holiday planned, or any desire to grow olive trees. We may be middle-aged, middle class, but we don't know our wines. Have never been to an opera in a quarry, don't have barbecues or yearn for a spa bath. I fell for him 30-something years ago because he looked like Cat Stevens. Or Jesus. He fell for me because of my powder blue raincoat and yellow shoes. Our garden is scruffy. Our tastes low-key. We prefer to spend nights in. Rent a DVD, light the fire, eat chocolate.
Thank you, Kate. That was marvellous. Okay, certainly has the poet's gift for finding what's magical and extraordinary and ordinary. Now, our first open mic session, and can I just stress we are all on your side? You're welcome. And so, first, Linda.
I'm here at a temporary residency. I'm hoping staying here for 7 months now. I'm hoping to get a permanent residency in my passport. So at the moment I'm just renting a little house, just 1 bedroom little thing, and various things happened one after the other since I moved in. And it's not the kind of things you might expect, but I've called it nocturnal activities. Throughout the night, I shall stand in. Throughout the night, my pump switched on, loud and there must have been a mystery leak, but nothing was found when the plumber took a peek, except the pump was beyond repair. He'll fit another one next year. So at night I turned the switch off at the mains, yet still heard hissing, gurgles and wails. The water heater was trying to speak. Should I turn it off? Is there too much heat? Even so, the noise didn't stop, and Zaley contacted the electrical shop. A new thermostat is fitted neat, but still it seemed to hiss and squeak. I lie in bed and drifting off, when I remember to climb up and turn the pump switch off. Hours later, the bed covers are in a heap. Oh yes, I'm still trying to get to sleep. Things in the night go bump and bang. On the roof is an almighty clang. Am I living next to a coconut tree? Then another clang at 3:30. This whole thing is still a mystery. Is it a possum trying to annoy me? Now, if the water tank could speak, it would be saying there's a leak. Eventually it gets repaired and everything is now discreet. But 2:30 and 3 and 4, the train goes hurtling past my door. The alarm bells ring like there's a fire, but who needs warning at this ungodly hour? Then, what's that tapping on the wall? As far as I know, there's nothing there at all. The wind is up and gale is blowing. Is there something else I should be knowing? Tap, tap, tap and knock, knock, knock. I don't like this at 3 o'clock. Next morning I find a big long stick. Some dried up flax is the culprit. Meanwhile, 5 light bulbs are looking dead. Better turn the power off and go ahead to get some new ones and not be stingy, because this flipping house at night looks dingy. Friends Zaley and Rob drive past my door. The electric farm gates don't work anymore. Could it be because my power is off? My power which the gates run off? But I love it here in my little den. I'd even boot to come again. The views and alpaca walk amaze, and I will while away my days, meeting friends and having fun, and wondering what happened to the sun. Yet, knowing I'm in a better place than in Britain with the floods and freezing days. So I've got another little one that I wrote. It's to advertise that we're making a rug for the children's section. And we've got Jan de Wag coming, haven't we? She's coming, yeah, on the 22nd. So if we've got any other volunteers to help with the rug, I've got a little poem about that which I promised Jan. The sewing class is run by Jan. I like her work, I am a fan. Mary and others came as well, and soon our little group will gel. We're cutting and sewing and plaiting rag, crazy material out of a bag, to make a curly whirly rug, with hills and clouds and sea and bush. For here the library in White-Tatty, so we sit and sew and get quite chatty, telling tales of life that's gone, and what we watch when the telly's on. Has Downton Abbey lost its spell? The DVD of The Wire went well. Louise makes amazing scones to eat, dished up with butter, a lovely treat. Tea and coffee to keep us going, round and round the circles sewing. I can't wait for the children to see the treat. Lumpy bumpy under the feet, and soft and squashy to sit upon, while the years of stories read on and on. Got one more if you can stand it. Have I time for another one? Or, yeah. While I've been here, I've found how everybody's so friendly. And I came over on my own because my husband couldn't come. And I found people really good in Waitati, and well, I'm in this little house. So I've called it Waitati, Trish and Co. Waitati, a place that is so good. Friends just appear from out the wood. Andy helped with my washing line and other people gave their time. Liz pops home with Poppy, a chihuahua to walk, and we'd take Jock and Lucky by the alpacas and talk. She would have lent me a caravan for when Maggie came to stay, but we've travelled and we've laughed and now she's gone away. Robin and Grant gave a mattress and bedding to lend, so I can house my friends and no need to spend. Family also do lots for me, so I'm always welcome, which is great to know. My friend Trish answers my wish, someone fun to go out with. The latest films we go and see, with Trish in her new car taking me. The A&P show Saturday last showed vintage tractors from the past. Llamas and huge Romney sheep, and a man with 2 dogs herding geese. Rams in pens then stamp their feet as Jock and Lockie take a peek. Girls on horses trying to jump, but some refusing, getting the hump. Then Trish produces the perfect brew. She'd brought the picnic basket too. Lovely to sit there in the sun, watching everything going on. Then hunger pangs set in a bit, so we got a sausage on a stick. The tomato sauce dripped down a lot, and plopped on Trish's new blue top. Then so she tried in vain to remove the evidence of the bright red stain. We'd put our sunscreen on all right, but the bits we missed came out at night. Sore and red and needing cream, and now we have a rosy gleam. Next day to the theatre to see Bookends, a tale of literary men who were friends. A light-hearted and humorous team. Then at the interval we ate ice cream. Round to the Asian for tasty cuts, gingered beef and prawns with nuts. Home again after a lovely day, I couldn't get in my house, no way. I tried and tried to turn the key, but it wouldn't open the door for me. Off to Matthews for WD-40, the day was getting very naughty. Without success, I was in despair. Then Rod appeared at the gate without a care. White tub on his back and wand in hand, he sprayed his magic on the land. He said, getting rid of mould, but I knew better than what he told, for he worked his magic on my door, and soon it wasn't locked anymore. It was so lovely to be in my den and put the kettle on again.
Well, Linda, thank you so much. And best of luck with your residency.
Well, thank you.
Elizabeth Brooke Carr.
I've just had a week of being very indulged. The New Zealand International Early Music Festival has been on in Dunedin, so I booked and went to everything. So these two poems are very new, so bear with me. Harpsichord Notes, Caught in a Storm, Lunchtime Concert by Douglas Muse. It might have been the voiceless wind that whirled them high into the vault that afternoon as stone trembled and rain whipped across the city, lashing trees outside the cathedral windows into a frenzy. But were they not used to being plucked from the score in all manner of seasons? Perhaps to settle in stuffy drawing rooms, among tapestry cushions and crumpets, and starched expressions in rustic France. Or maybe to dance a somewhat old dove with ribbons and roses and modest maids in the Landry's pleasant gardens. Have they not sighed and staved again, listless with gentle languor and soft variations, stirring flesh and damask drapery in the intimate parlours of Grand Chateau? Are these not the same who have stepped in courtly style from pavane to pavement, leaning guileless into the crowded traffic of human hearts? Whatever the facts, no one there will forget that late ascension, their graceful dash to the rafters in St. Paul's, the sound of applause above the storm. I've never done this before, written a villanelle, so here's my first try. A villanelle for lutenist John Griffiths, and this was in All Saints Church. The lute player's fingers, measured, slow, strike a chord. High above, suspended on the cross, Jesus heaves a sigh, taps a wooden toe. Among the candles and the brass below, where stained glass windows honour saints and loss, the lute player's fingers, measured, slow, recall the youth once framed by Caravaggio, his soulful beauty, dark and lure, shy, seductive gloss. Jesus heaves a sigh, taps a wooden toe. Leaning in, he listens to the rhythmic flow. His blessed gaze with unction pure glides across the lute player's fingers, measured, slow, plucking strings of splendour, soft and low, pressing notes into the air, its likeness to loss. Jesus heaves a sigh, taps a wooden toe. His benisons are for all to feel and know. This gift of music too, gold sifted from the dross into the lute player's fingers, measured, slow. Jesus heaves a sigh, taps a wooden toe.
Thank you, Elizabeth. That was a really impressive villanelle. Thank you very much. I'd like to say about Elizabeth Brooker that on Monday night some of us watched a video that involved a poem that was partly Elizabeth's. If you Google The Soldier and the Pod, yes, and it is stunningly beautiful. The poetry is beautiful. Elizabeth Brooker and Claire Van. It's a conversation between a soldier on the Peninsula, the monument, and a poet, and it's well worth looking up. I recommend it heartily. Sorry, I'm kicking things up. Louise and
Thank you, Carolyn. Well, I completely forgot that I wrote this poem, but just a little bit about Carolyn. While she was at Blueskin Bay, she had real passion for poetry, and she shared that poetry with us while she was here. And for 3 years she had it was called the Blueskin Bay Poetry, and she had both schools, Waiheke School and Warrington School, as well as the whole community writing poetry. And for 3 years we had a compilation of poetry. And this is a poem that I wrote, I think, in about 2008. And I have to be honest, I can't even remember writing it. But it's very much me. Poetry to me, lists, ad hoc notes, funny words, nothing in order. This represents me. Everything cluttered, falling out all over the place. A few objects come to mind, but they are not easily found. The rest are hiding in the shadows, but it is a perilous journey to find them. This is what I like about poetry. There are no grammar or punctuation constraints. I can throw words where they land. I can create patterns that only I understand. I am speaking my own language. Thank you, Carolyn.
Wonderful, Louise, thank you. I put people's arms way up their backs for some of these, but that was worth it in the end. Oswald.
I do have a poem somewhere. Oh, goodness, what have I done? Sorry.
You've got a bag down here, is it? Got a bag here.
Thank you. I've got a couple of poems. Well, it's got 5 there. I would like to share 2. The first one is in response to Gareth Morgan. You might have remembered his, he was not very happy about cats and wild bird life. So this is called The Fantail. Shattered glory cradled, the savage form spills, time's tremors fade, life's marvel chills. Beauty and function, a wondrous fusion, millennia in shaping, moments to destroy. Frail and defenceless, delight to the senses. Recitalist dancer, complete enchanter, diverting the sickly, charming the troubled. You had uplifted the weary, assuaged the bereaved. With artless affection, the culprit rubs my leg. Love and outrage war, forgive was heard. I reach to the silken The second one's called Death in Car Park. It's about one of mine. It's about a bee, and bees are very topical because they're so vital to us, and I wish everybody would appreciate them. That's what it is. I'm just knocking me over. It's called Death in the Car Park. Darkness yields. Dawn's beauty grows. Dawn's beauty glows. Life renewed, golden energy flows. Perilous sparrows hustle, stardust claim domain. Warmth caresses, a car-plagued city fumes. The bumblebee sets forth, questing sparse flowers, forbidding buildings loom. Meagre plant life strives. Adversity greets the forager, raucous noise and toxic air. Aloof, heedless beings, irrational hands flailing. Confused and fearful, desperately seeking rest. The exhausted bee alights. Asphalt harsh and agony, a vicious foot, agonized last movement. Victim of its beneficiary, a gentle creature dies, unique and once beautiful, defiled in mankind's grip.
Oswald, thank you very much. That was great. Right, that's our first open mic bracket. So now I declare an interval, and there's food and drink. When we come back, we'll have our second guest.
Hall until they followed the body's folds. Maiden Mosgiel meant warmer than Lucifer, not that he was from around here. On the sill were jam jars of flowers, last spring's water darker than any petal. A drunk, sobered by the love of some girl who intoxicated others, you snuggled under as if this was your earth. School sports, 1972. The girls always avoiding us. One body, one more walking off across scorched grass, sucking hard on answers. Laughter marking the air, the way hunger swells the bell, as a promise gone rotten. Not wanting to be beyond, beyond. Littleton, 1984. Curling over the mantel, a postcard of an anchor rather than an anchor, although they're not going anywhere, so what's the difference? He flicks a grin made of licorice, Lagavulin and perhaps, as that anchor in her drags. Marshland Road, 1992. Scrubbing front steps, mothers consider the shopping centre opposite. It's not as if there's a lot else. 12 bloody months, the hammering and then opening specials, spilling from trolleys that rattle asymmetrically west. Seeing red as their men collect kegs in escorts, judder-bar past the present tense, where a stop sign means you're gone, mate. Port Chalmers, 2003. That Calendar cottage meant rent overdue. However picturesque, hawthorn hurt your hands. Whether they were a labourer's or a lover's, the blood dropped regardless. Eventually, the best of both worlds reduced to a view of the moon peering over a long drop. To Peter Khan, Port Chalmers fruiterer, who died 3 weeks after retiring. I'm going to pack up and clear off. And it's 11 years since I moved into Hurakanui, and it has easily been the finest address in terms of making work. But the work sometimes, even though it comes from the place, doesn't reference the place. So I'd like to move now to a poem that really sounds as if it's somewhere more grand. After the wink and elbow, the unthrown kiss, which is a line from Patrick Ivana. The fact of the matter is, the fact of the matter doesn't matter much. There is love, the abstract noun ahead of every verb. There is the rest, that dollars and cents world where love must announce itself at street corners, school bicycle sheds smelling of chain oil and boy. A halo fades the way affection does after a night in the baths. One moment the no-hoper becomes indispensable, the next his body is on a cart in the square. There is a woman, and then, best say nothing, flustered under the stairs where a saint stood the day before you thought to look up. I want to move through to a series of poems that were written up the hill. Hurakanui, I have two stepdaughters, Saskia and Rowena, and a few years ago I was silly enough to write 6 poems for Rowena, whereupon Saskia presented her demands for at least 6 poems, which is the kind of commission that a poet doesn't really want, because you realise you're on a hike to nothing. But let's read one for each. This is 11. It's for Saskia. She went red when she looked at it, wished it. She hadn't pushed it. Says it right. On the beach, bleached sheep bones let me know how far you can go. Above, gripping the macrocarpa that Grandpa planted, Billy waves. His arms are made of charcoal, and the wind blows until his face is red, and my cheeks burn. He looks so cool. I hope God won't notice. Billy is barefoot and careful shells don't cut his toes. With my stick I scratch a hopscotch patch. He beats me because I'm giddy around him. My dress flicks out, leaving me off balance. And I fall, but he refuses to play catch. Already walked in all the puddles, no sense going there again. When he said he would, he should have. I waited in the bull paddock with the bukeko until the school bell. I pulled up my socks and ran back. Billy lent me his dictionary, where I found penis, testicles, and incomprehension. We finished the tomatoes, careful not to spill pips over our uniforms. How could we count? Billy tried to catch my breath, too far ahead. Then we saw it, an unseasonal plum. Cut bruises from the fruit, bit hard, knowing most love stories are short. Serves it right. Well, let's get one for her sister. She's a rather more complex beast, but her sister's a rather more complex creature, with no disrespect. Like Pasternak, I tread the prospect of pine needles. The underworld comes through mud, darker than the laughter of yet another hero who forgot he will be forgotten. When I was a child who got to the bottom of things, the stars, taken as given, disappeared. There was a wide nearness that threw me back on myself, as if a public holiday was declared in my honour, but I was forced to do chores until morning, when everyone slept in. Now, let's move through to a couple of poems that were drafted last year, and then I will happily vacate the floor for our open mic readers. This gets a bit raunchy, sorry. It's only imaginary, you understand. The impossibility of strawberries. Once a dress the colour of sunset. After dark she would let him take it off. Even the God who approved could not watch. If you want love to stay, shut up our house, covering the furniture with dirty sheets. When the moon was full, he could see it in the pond. Still, if he pulled the shutters, there would be no cover, just the memory that is language, bad language. He could have married the younger sister with the swan's neck, who said, "When strawberries are fresh, why write about them? There is already more darkness than you know. Don't offer me shadows when I need strawberries." He didn't care, only later, the later that takes him into old age. And I'm going to wind up with two poems, widely differing tenors. One of them is a little squirt, which I'm going to give you now as a balance to the rather sad piece I've just read. This is to the office of the Prime Minister.